So when you open up Adobe Animate, which used to be called Flash, so sometimes I might call it Flash, you'll see a screen like this. So we want to create a new animation, so we click on Create New. And your mouse isn't working. And we want to make sure that we are using the web options. Okay, we just want to create a low resolution image, so we're just going to go to this preset here, which is at 640 pixels by 480. That's a perfect size for us. You can see here the width and the height. You can adjust it to whatever you want, but I'm just going to use these standards. The frame rate, probably when you open up, the frame rate will be 24. That's too fast for us. I'm going to reduce that frame rate to 12. And we want to make sure we're using HTML5 canvas. ActionScript 3.0 is out of date now and we're not going to use it anymore. So HTML5 canvas, and we click Create. And what you're creating is a blank screen. Okay, this area here is called the stage. You can control the size of the stage by clicking on the properties. So here we have the stage color. I can choose any color I want to start off with. I'm just going to leave it as a nice shade of blue. Here's the width and the height, and I'm not going to touch anything else, but just know that you can change the color. Here's the frame rate, 12 per second. Now, this is your stage, this is your properties, and this is your timeline. The timeline controls how long an object will stay on the stage for, and it is divided into frames. So these little tiny, let me just see, can I zoom in so you can see? No, I can't zoom in for the timeline. See, can I increase the size of this? Anyway, these little dots here are called frames, or sorry, these little patches, these little squares are called frames. So if you go to 10, that's not quite 1 second. We said 12 frames per second. This area here is 12 frames, represents 1 second of time on the screen. So 24 would represent 2 seconds. So there's 24 here, and 36 then would be 3. So you're multiplying by 12 each time per second. Every object that will be animated will have its own layer, so you need to name your layers. So I'm just going to create one called red dot. We're going to start off animating a dot, okay? And automatically, you can't really see it very clearly on my screen, but there's a little dot inside this frame. A dot inside a frame means it's a keyframe, and a keyframe marks the beginning and the end of an animation. So when the animation starts and when it ends. So at the start, I'm just going to click on my shape here, and I'm just going to draw a circle. I want the circle to be a different color than the stage, so I'm going to go with bright yellow. We want to make sure the stroke is off. That creates an outside border. So again, if you want a perfect circle, hold down your Shift key as you draw. Now, your object, oh, I said I was going to do a red one, didn't I? So I'm going to have to click on my dot and choose red. Okay. Now, when you select the dot, you can change the colors. So here you can see that I was able to change colors. If an object needs to be animated, you first have to make it a symbol. So you select the object either by doing what I did and clicking on it. You can see the little white dots. Or what you can do either is drag an imaginary square over it, and that will select any little odd bits that are not part of the circle. So if I had an odd shape, every little section would be selected. Press F8 to make this a symbol. Okay, first thing you need to do is name it. So I'm going to call it red dot. Make sure that we have the type is a movie clip. There are other types, but for the time being, all we're going to be doing is using movie clips. Okay, so now you can see it's a symbol. It has a little tiny dot in the middle and a blue box around it. So in the beginning, my animation, my dot will start here, and I'm going to move it over here. So this is the beginning keyframe, and this is going to be the second keyframe. And this motion is going to happen over the course of 3 seconds. So I'm going to position my dot, and then 3 seconds later, at frame 36, I'm going to press F6 to put in a keyframe, and that's to mark the end of it. So if I said that the dot is going to be over here at the end, then on this keyframe, that's where the dot will be. So on the first keyframe, I click on it, the dot is there, and the last bit, the dot is on the right hand side. Now what we want to do is we want to put in Classic Tween. So you right click anywhere in between the two keyframes and you choose Create Classic Tween, and that line now turns purple. And what that does is the animation will automatically move this blue line is called the playhead, between the two keyframes, and the animation is automatically put in by the computer. So if you want to see how it looks, press enter. Okay. Now, if you want to slow down the movement of the dot, you can press F5 to put in blank frames, and you can see that I'm stretching out the time, and you can see the dot is moving much slower. If I want the dot to move much quicker, I can delete some of the frames. So I'm just going to click on a selection and press Shift F5, and that deletes some blank keyframes. So now the dot will move much quicker. Okay. And if I want the dot to move to the top now, what I'm going to do is click somewhere along the timeline. So I've pressed here at 45, press F6 to put in a keyframe, and I position the dot up at the top. And now what I need to do is put in the Classic Tween between these two areas, so the dot's moving there. Okay. Now what I want to do is create a shorter amount of time. So slightly further up, I'm going to press F6 to put in a keyframe, and I'm going to position the dot down here and right click, create Classic Tween, and it will move very fast now because it's only half the speed from the top down, so it's very fast. When you're finished your animation, you can save it. So I'm just going to call it red dot, and it'll be saved as a .fla, meaning a .flash file. Going to make sure that I'm storing it on my desktop. I have a folder here. And then that's only good for you as a raw file. What you need to do is go publish, and that will create your HTML files. If I just show you the video here. Here it is here. It's automatically created the web page for you with the corresponding code.